calls me from out of the pit.
Whoever is bitten by a werewolf and lives becomes a werewolf himself.
Oh, don't hand me that. You're just wasting your time.
The wolf bit you, didn't he?
Welcome to another episode of It Came from the Saturday Night. I'm Paul.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Mike.
And tonight we're going to be talking about Sven The Wolf Man from 1941. Unless you've lived under a rock, we've all seen The Wolf Man.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the earliest scary movies I remember seeing at my grandma's house when I was a little kid. It may have been on, I don't know if Svengoolie, that Jerry Bishop ran it or not.
I don't remember.
But I remember distinctly watching it in the big folded bed that we had, the couch that folded out. So it may have been Svengoolie. It may also have been just a creature feature or whatever. But so we've all seen it. Everyone's seen it. We've seen it lots of times.
I think we were talking before the movie. It's the one Universal monster movie not based on a book.
Yeah, for the most part.
So it which I think is interesting because you're not really holding it accountable to a book,
right?
So because certainly, I mean, Dracula's somewhat close, but not close.
Mm-hmm.
Frankenstein, not close. And so I think it's interesting that it stands on its own.
Yeah.
And yet the script was great. The script did a really
the script is so good. The acting is so good. I mean, it's got Claude Rains in it. Claude Rains is one of my all-time favorite actors. The thing about this movie that floors me is it is so good that it has become, made in 1941, it is the de facto werewolf story.
Mm-hmm.
And with the fact that, okay, Dracula is based on Dracula, Frankenstein is based on Frankenstein, you automatically just, and of course, the Visible Man, you automatically assume this was based on a book.
Yes.
But it wasn't.
No.
But it carries that same weight. And I also think this is probably Lon Chaney Jr.'s like best performance ever in all of his movies. I think this is probably the best thing he's ever done.
I think he's given the most to work with as well. I mean, because in the other movies, Wolfman plays sort of second fiddle to somebody else.
Yeah, yeah.
And so
so versus the Wolfman.
Correct.
Right.
And that seems to be a theme later in later movies.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you actually have a remake, or a werewolf centered movie, the Wolfman always seems to take a back seat. He's kind of like the Aquaman of the universe. even though the creature of the Black Lagoon should be.
Yeah.
But I think I remember element as a kid. I remember the creepy I think as a kid it was one of my favorites. I remember the creepy Romani woman, the Travelers, and that stands out in my memory. And the Mummy always stood out in my memory as a kid. Although I flip-flopped, I prefer Dracula and the Frankenstein movies now as an adult. But as a kid, I loved the werewolf movie. He's sort of how would you put it? He's almost, he's taken down a peg. So he kind of starts the movie as sort of a rich, if you will, wolf character as far as like creepy towards women. So he's sort of a wolf in man's clothing from day one.
That's a pretty good, pretty good observation.
Yeah.
I didn't think about it.
Yeah,
like
he kind of is this creepy wolfish, person who then gains this emotional side as he devolves. And so that's what I like. I like the growth of the growth and of the character, and so what he becomes. And like you said, Claude Rains as the father, having what he has to deal with. I mean, that really hit home tonight. Realizing that he has to kill he not knowing it, he kills his own son.
Yeah, and as a kid, well, even as an adult, it never really clicked in my head that, because these are movies that we've seen so many times that we just
Mhm.
kind of watch the shapes move on the screen. But I forgot that Claude Rains was Talbot's dad,
Yeah.
Larry's dad,
Hmm.
which I don't know why, but for some reason, Larry Talbot sounds like the name of like a sitcom character. So he'd be on like,
Benson.
yeah.
He'd be the angry mansion owner on Benson.
And the Wolfman, like you said, I think the Wolfman was my favorite monster when I was younger.
Mhm.
I I don't know, he just seemed the coolest. He was a party animal.
And you have an affinity for animals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and well, the whole kind of two sides to your personality too.
Hmm.
It was interesting too. But yeah, now I think my favorite Universal monster movie is Frankenstein.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I mean, I just when I watched it more recently, like in the past few years, I kind of felt like that was the best one.
Yeah, it's so well done.
Uh, but I had books of movie monsters when I was a kid.
Hmm.
I just loved all the monsters. I don't know if I've ever even seen the original Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh, really?
Mm.
I wish Sven would show that.
Well, there you go. Sven, if you're listening.
Hmm.
The one with I don't know the one you always when you always see
Jack
a
Palance.
still of yeah Jack Palance. Because there was two.
Mr.
Well, there was a silent one, and then there was
Yeah.
two.
Yes.
One had Spencer Tracy, I think,
Hmm.
Hmm.
and the other one was someone else. I don't remember who. But anyway, I always loved those.
Hmm.
And there was a Saturday morning show called The Monster Squad.
Hmm.
I loved because it had all the monsters.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably ate a lot of fruit brute growing up.
Yeah, Fruit Brood and Freakies and Twist.
Speaking of books, when we were kids at my school, my elementary school's library, we had a book on werewolves.
Hmm.
And for the longest time, I thought this book was just a fever dream because nobody remembered it but me. But
Mhm.
thanks to the internet, some friends of mine have pointed out, no, it's real. Well, there was this book all about werewolves, and it had like like the famous like the girl with the beard and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But in this book, there was the ritual that you could perform to become a werewolf.
Mm.
Hmm.
There wasn't a kid in Springfield Elementary School that didn't check that book out, that didn't try to turn into a werewolf. And
Mhm.
it unfortunately, it never worked.
No.
But it's a great book. I had thought about buying it. For the life of me right now, I can't think what the title is. I love this book, but I don't love it as much as they want for it. So
Mm.
I just thought that was funny.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how can you put a price on being able to turn into a werewolf?
I
Correct.
know, right?
Correct.
Well, the price is your soul, according to
Oh,
the
okay.
ritual, because you sell your soul to the devil.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I'm like, I ain't using it. What the hell?
Right. It's just sitting there and collecting dust. Yeah. I think some things we noticed tonight, because once you've seen a movie so many times,
Mhm.
it loses a bit of its luster.
That's right.
And um, I think the fact that it seemed like a full moon every night in the
Yeah.
movie, but I don't think they. I guess it does use the word full moon on the full moon,
Yeah.
but
It's in the rhyme. Yeah.
yeah, so that kind of throws it off, and the fact that it kept changing from night to day immediately,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the fact that the woods were always foggy
Yep.
and dark, but it's a bit of Shakespeare too, because in Shakespeare the woods are always dark and foggy and different, and so I don't know, but uh, I think just the overall sadness of the movie. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of I mean, they all are, except for Dracula. I mean, but Frankenstein has that as well. There's just you feel more pity towards the monster than you do anything else.
Right.
Um, although my most pity I have is for the creature, especially in the second and third movie, where they basically make him a sideshow freak. And so,
If you lump all the Universal monsters in, Creature is my favorite,
mhm,
but as far as the initial run, it's Bride of Frankenstein. I've said it quite
Yeah,
often.
mine too. Bride of Frankenstein. Yeah.
Bride is perfect. I think it's funny too that like, yeah, absolutely. This is Larry Talbot is pathetic. He very and Lon Chaney Jr. plays him perfectly. He really you really get the feeling of the desperation in this
Yeah.
guy.
And he's and it's because when he comes on and he's the wolf, you know, the wolfish, rich, Nepo baby or whatever they nepotism baby. I mean,
Yeah.
he's so confident and he just gets deflated. I mean, he's just like a human balloon. I mean, getting the curse totally deflates him.
Yeah.
And the Romani, you know, the mother of, and you know, of course, we pointed out tonight that technically Bela Lugosi was the very first Wolfman.
Right.
So technically, in the movie,
But here's the thing about that. Okay, so Bela turns into a werewolf and
Mhm.
attacks the person, and you know Talbot.
Mhm.
It's but he turns into a wolf.
Correct.
But Larry Talbot turns into a guy who looks like a wolf. It's like what was up with that?
I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe when you're a werewolf for long enough, you start getting wolfier and wolfier.
That could be, yeah. And considering these movies are like 80 minutes long, they don't have time to go into all that. Maybe.
Or perhaps. Well, and they never do they. I don't remember.
Mhm.
Do they say if Bela was bitten? They don't.
Yeah, true.
Bela just has a curse, so maybe he's the pure curse, and so that's why he's pure wolf.
It could be
compared to.
That's the beauty of this movie, though. You can go on and on about stuff like that. I also feel I would be remiss if I didn't point out that our good friend Glenn likes to point out how the Wolfman like always strangles people.
Right.
But yeah, but then they'll turn around and go, he was bitten in the jugular.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, well, off camera, he was bitten.
Well, and I think we don't get to. Yeah, given the time it was made, they couldn't show all that.
Right. Like if it would have been pre-code the Wolfman, that would have been something else. It would have been interesting to see a version of the Wolfman like pre-code.
Well, and I think budget too, because I mean, as even Sven pointed out tonight, in this movie you don't get to see a really good facial transformation, just his feet.
Yeah,
and so I think budget definitely had something to do with
it's
it.
like Quentin Tarantino's The Wolfman.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, later on, I think once this became so hugely popular, then they dumped the money into the transformation. So
yeah, because didn't they said he played the werewolf character like 5 times.
Yeah,
you know, not quite on the Paul Naschy level of he played his Wolfman 15 times. But I think Lon Chaney Jr. is like the distant second.
Correct.
for Werewolf Men.
Well, what were the 5 movies then? It was
so it'd be the Wolfman,
and Frankenstein meets the Wolfman,
right? Would he have been? He would have been in House of Frankenstein, House of Dracula.
Okay,
and then
oh, I know, Abbott Costello.
Abbott Costello,
yeah, okay.
And he gets more pathetic as the movies go.
Yeah, he really does. Because even in the Abbott and Costello movie, he's just insufferable. All he does is come on stage and cry and writhe his hands and sweat.
But he's very much. I think maybe why I like him because we grew up on the Hulk TV show.
Yeah,
and he's very much a Bill Bixby type character. I mean, he's cursed by this monster within that comes without, and so.
I don't know if we're interrupting. I always thought that that Ben Grimm was modeled after Chaney Jr. Because he kind of looks like him if you look at the art, like before he turns into the thing. And he sort of has a similar vibe to he's always pissing and moaning about that he's turned into a monster.
Yeah.
What a revolt!
Yes. But that's a long running theme in Marvel. I mean, having all the I mean, and of course, in the Universal movie, the monsters, except for Dracula, you get there's a sad story behind why they're the quote unquote villain, just like all the Marvel villains have a sad story.
Right.
And if they don't, they eventually give them one.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks. But, so yeah, they retcon it and make them sad. But yeah, I think it was. I mean, it's just so well made, the movie, and so I mean, I agree with you though. We were pointing out tonight that the timelessness of it is because we can't figure out what year it takes.
Yeah.
It says it takes place in Wales of all places, but apparently Wales looks like old Frankenstein, Austria, Germany, it's sort of with a bit of Transylvania thrown in. And but the fact that it's supposed to take place in Wales absolutely just made no sense whatsoever.
What was it you looked up? It was like
Well, I
the
looked up
1890s?
Yeah, I looked up the 1890s. One website claimed it's the 1890s, but and some of the hats the men were 1890s, but as you pointed out, they're also wearing 1930s hats.
Yeah, Lon Chaney Jr., the suit he's wearing is clearly a 1930s.
Correct. Suit. Yeah. So it's a bit weird. You can't. It's timeless in that way.
That's what it really is. Yeah. I think that lends to it.
It does. I agree. I at first I'm like, yeah, you're right. That's annoying. But then I'm like, no. It takes it out of its time. So
speaking of time, tonight's episode, the Sven bits dealt heavily with his 40th anniversary, which was in 2019. And he talked about, that one of the things they brought on as well was his new coffin. New because it floored me for a second, because the footage from that they said was like from 2012. Has it been that long since he's had the new coffin?
Yeah.
Man, it doesn't seem like it to me. It seems like it's only been a couple of years, but God, that's a lot. But anyway, yeah. So they did a whole 40th anniversary kind of interview wrap up and talked about a lot of cool stuff on it.
I don't mind the 40th anniversary. I was thrilled in fact, I bought the 40th anniversary collectible box and that was I think that was the first Sven merch I bought. And this T-shirt came in that. And so I kind of I like the interview with Nick DiGilio, former radio DJ. And so I love hearing the history of Sven. I wish they had access to more of the classic bits. But and the coffin story, I've heard it now many times.
Yeah,
but
I talked about it last week, actually.
Yeah, and so it just makes me hope that the Museum of Broadcast Television Communication, or whatever it's called, gets their new home soon. So, because I had an opportunity to see it and didn't get to go, and so I want to see the old Sven set badly.
Yeah, that would be fun.
It would be neat.
I went there when they had the display of all the old kids shows.
Yeah, you did. Yeah,
they had Ray Rayner and the guy, what's his name, DJ and Dirty Dragon.
Oh yeah, from Gilsner Hotel.
Yeah. He was actually
Classic.
there. I saw him.
Oh wow, I think he's dead now.
Is he?
I think. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, he was pretty old in some of the more recent footage I've seen.
Yeah, I love Gilsner Hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them shows, man.
It's too bad Sven couldn't run some of that before.
Oh yeah.
Like run old shows from WGN back in the day. That would be cool.
Yeah, I'd love to see his display at the museum now.
Yeah, I would too. I hope they get a new home. But there were really good bits tonight, and so I think the song was great. That cracked me up a lot. Nostalgia for Ratu, as always, hit it out of the park.
Yeah, he's
just on it.
Yeah.
And just it gets Sven's humor. I mean, he nails Sven's humor.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean, contrary to what certain people on certain groups believe, these guys have chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely.
All the entire squad.
I think if you watch just the Green Acres bit that they did for the commercial, I mean, they're gelling now. And I mean, give them it. So if you think about we talk about all the time about the Seinfeld show. If you season one of Seinfeld is painful.
Yeah, I recommend people skip it
Yeah.
when they ask me about it.
Yeah, I mean, shows don't get into their groove for a while. It takes a while for a show to take off, and so I think it just took a while for these people to being used to being on camera. I mean, even the Imp going from, I mean, he's basically a stage comedian, so I'm sure, and going in front of the camera is way different than being on stage.
Yeah.
And then Gwen Gooley is just a YouTube, on YouTube, so she's just got her own camera, can control it. So, I mean, but I think they're all getting more relaxed, and so it just makes. I thought the Green Acres commercial was hilarious. So I wish they would do more of that. I wish they would.
Yeah.
I wish they would film more bits with the Sven crew.
Yeah.
So I'm all for more of all three of them.
Yep. Especially with the time period they have, they've got like 2.5 hours,
Right.
and that's a lot of time to fill, especially if you're running like these older movies that are only like 80 odd minutes long. That's even with commercials, that's a lot of time to fill.
Yeah.
So sometimes you'll see stuff that you've already seen, but like the coffin, we've all seen that, but we still watch it anyway. It's interesting.
Yeah. I was hoping to see Pinky in the Brain again.
Pinky in the Brain.
Yeah, and I mean, we were joking about, I think, commercials a couple episodes ago. And so, what were new commercials now are being beaten into us.
Yes.
The veggie pills. Good Lord.
Yeah, I never feel more old than when I watch Sven Gooley. I'm like targeted like with these commercials so much.
Yeah, the supplements with the vegetables and fruits, and the mattress.
Yeah.
What's it called again?
The sleep number.
Sleep
number commercial. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, for me, they could just run the 222 guys over and over again. That make me happy.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. That's a classic Chicago commercial.
And the production value of that commercial is akin to the production value of Sven Gooley.
And the fact that those two guys, those two lawyers, each had their own crappy Chicago commercials and then merged to become something greater. I mean, they're like Voltron. They are, yes, they are the Voltron of ambulance chasers. So I mean, those guys need their own show.
Yeah,
but
or they just need to be on like Howard Inc. And
they need to have a Sven Gooley bit
show.
Do a commercial.
But yeah, I think the bits were good tonight. We were talking. I wish they would just go ahead and lengthen the mail section, the opening of the mail, because I mean they even say on the website they get so much stuff that there's no way they could show it. Well, then instead of rerunning Sven on the Road, Pinky in the Brain, just do a 20-minute opening of mail and showing pictures and stuff that they get. I mean, that he used to run it a lot longer on Son of Sven Gooley.
Well, I just remember the back in the day, the Son of Sven Gooley mail segments were absolutely bonkers because that stuff was just so gonzo's. It was so spur of the moment, and it was almost like he never had control of what was going on because there was always people throwing stuff at him, or his side characters would be talking to him, and it was just so absolute bonkers. And that's what I really loved about the mail segment.
Yeah, I think they should just lengthen that out. That would work for me. And because that can be new every week, as it is. I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you've shown a movie, that mail segment could be brand new every single time.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure you could film it all in an afternoon.
Yeah.
So, that would be my request, would be a change to that kind of format. Yeah. And because I think in the Elgin one, when they showed the Elgin clips, isn't there one where he's in Elgin where he gets the key to the city? Like, oh no, don't show that one again.
I'm done with Pinky in the Brain. I'm also done with the Sven Gooley stomp. We've seen that so many times. Unless you're going to do it again with new people. Yeah, so maybe he's realized that because we haven't seen him in a while. No. So maybe that's a thing. Something we were talking about, getting back to the movie a little bit. was the character of Mr. Twiddle.
Yeah, Mr. Twiddle. So, again, how many times have we seen this movie? So,
Lots.
yeah. So, Mr. Twiddle, the little bumbling,
Very nervous.
very nervous man. Somebody, please, out there, do better internet research than I did. But I swear that's how they got the Mr. Twiddle from the Universal cartoon.
Tex Avery
cartoon, where the little man,
a little nervous old guy.
man, goes to the hotel and it ends up being his doctor and nurse are the ones tormenting him. I'm sorry. Well, anyway, yes.
Of course, for a 90-year-old
cartoon. Oh, I guess I won't mention it. His head explodes in the end.
Mr.
Mr. Twiddle your nerves. But I swear it had to be based on, but apparently there's also a book series called Mr. Twiddle that started in 42. So I'm wondering if that book series was based on the character. But nothing. I did Origin of Mr. Twiddle. I did the author of the Mr. Twiddle books pick it up from Wolfman. Can't find anything. So anybody out there.
And granted, you were doing research during the show.
Correct, which is hard.
This is kind of it was a cursory glance.
Correct. Yeah, cursory.
Well, maybe the Wolfman movie was based on a book, and it was one of the Mr. Twiddle.
Yes, Mr. Twiddle. Mr. Twiddle gets scared by the Wolfman.
Beats the Wolfman.
Yeah. But it's an interesting. I mean, and apparently the Twiddle character is well known. So I think it might be British. I don't know. I didn't get deep enough into it. But definitely, just the way that he acted just hit me in the face. The Tex Avery cartoon, and which is one of my favorite Tex Avery cartoons.
It's one of the best.
Yeah, it is. And
I think maybe next to was Droopy Tex Avery, or was that
some Droopy episodes?
Like where he's. Or where like the wolf has to be real quiet. And
and run with the scream in his hands.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite cartoon like ever. But yeah, the Mr. Twiddle is like it's like a close second.
Yeah,
I like the one with the wolf watching the dancing girl. Like there's a couple that are pretty similar.
Yeah,
and he hits himself on the head.
Yes,
his eyes go. Yeah.
Which is kind of what I thought about with Lon Chaney Jr. tonight, that the character starts out like that.
Yeah.
Like the city, I guess he is, because he's coming back to Wales and it's all British, and his father speaks in a clipped accent, and he's this big old beefy American guy. And so he kind of is the country wolf.
I mean, he's huge.
Yeah, he is huge. Yeah.
I don't know what Lon Chaney Jr.'s height. Well, because he was tall. Because didn't his dad tell him but he wouldn't be an actor because he was too tall?
Correct.
But leading men are supposed to be tall. Right. It's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he towered over everybody in that.
I meant that his Frankenstein shoes didn't have to be as big either.
Yeah, right. He wore like sandals.
Yeah, just Frankenstein sandals. It's Frankenstein goes to the beach. It's a crossover with all those beach blanket bingo movies.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like Elvis meets Frankenstein.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're a monster. Look at that.
What are those shoes? What are those stupid shoes that people wear with
Crocs?
Crocs.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are those stupid shoes? Those like Crocs?
There was a meme that I saw where it showed Jason, from the Jason.
Oh yeah, yes,
wearing Crocs.
Yeah, because Crocs look bad.
He's looking at like WTF.
Yeah.
The question of the episode. What movie would you like to see on Svengoolie?
Captain Kronos, Vampire Hunter.
Oh yeah.
That's a big one for me.
I mentioned it already. I want to see the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, not the Spencer Tracy one, the other one, which I don't know who's in it. But
I can't remember. Yeah.
Well, if he'd show it,
exactly.
We'd know.
But it's the famous one. You always see the still of Mr. Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got that face with the teeth. Big teeth and everything.
Well, as much as I would like to see Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman with Paul Naschy, I don't think he could show that one because there's a lot of questionable material in that. But having said that, any of the Paul Naschy werewolf movies would be great to see on Svengoolie.
Mm-hmm.
They got just the right amount of cheese, just the right amount of that drama that goes along with those movies. That I think it would be a perfect fit for his show.
What about Hammer? What's the Hammer equivalent for the Wolfman movies? Do they have? I don't really remember. I can name the Hammer vampire Frankenstein movies, but
I don't know if they ever did one. If anybody watching this knows better than us, let us know in the comments if Hammer did a werewolf movie.
I think they did.
They had to have, I think. I mean,
they did. I don't know what it was called though.
All right. Well, having said all that, to say all this, again, I'm Paul.
I'm Mark.
I'm Mike.
And this has been It Came from Saturday Night.
Coming soon to this theater, a ghastly, ghoulish, and totally incredible motion picture.